Prompt engineering is the single most important skill for getting maximum value from AI systems. The difference between a basic user and an expert isn't the AI model they use, it's how they communicate with it. This lesson will teach you a complete framework for crafting prompts that consistently produce excellent results. Multi-turn prompting is a technique where you engage in a dialogue with the AI to progressively refine understanding. Instead of providing all instructions in the first message, you build context over multiple exchanges. The AI asks clarifying questions. You provide additional information. The AI confirms its understanding. This back and forth creates alignment that produces superior results, especially for complex or ambiguous tasks. The temperature parameter deserves deeper understanding. At zero temperature, the model always chooses the most likely next token, making its outputs deterministic and repetitive. At 1.0, the model samples from the full probability distribution, producing highly varied output. Most practical work falls between 0.3 for analytical tasks and 0.7 for creative tasks. Finding the right temperature for your use case is a matter of experimentation. The zero-shot chain of thought technique involves simply adding the phrase "let us think" step by step to your prompt. This seemingly small addition has been shown to dramatically improve performance on reasoning tasks. The model switches from pattern matching to explicit reasoning, producing more accurate and explainable results. This is one of the simplest yet most effective prompt engineering techniques known. The foundation of effective prompt engineering is the RTCF framework. Role, task, context, format. Every prompt you write should include all four elements. When one is missing, the AI has to guess, and guessing leads to mediocre results. Persona-based prompting becomes even more powerful when you combine multiple personas in a single interaction. You are a panel of three experts: a technical architect, a business strategist, and an end user. Discuss this proposal and provide feedback from each perspective, then synthesize a consensus recommendation. This produces remarkably nuanced analysis that considers multiple angles. Top K sampling is another parameter that limits the number of tokens the model considers at each step. A top K value of 40 means the model only considers the 40 most likely next tokens. This reduces the chance of the model choosing a very unlikely token that would derail the response. Lower values produce more focused text, while higher values allow more creativity and variety. The concept of temperature annealing involves starting with high temperature for creative exploration and gradually reducing temperature for refinement. In the first round, generate diverse ideas with high temperature. Select the best direction. Lower the temperature for more focused execution. This mimics the creative process of divergent thinking followed by convergent refinement. Start by assigning a role. Tell the AI who it is. You are a senior marketing executive with experience in B2B software. You are a PhD in machine learning explaining concepts to beginners. You are a professional copywriter who specializes in direct response marketing. The role sets the tone and knowledge domain for the entire response. Output verification is a critical skill for using AI reliably. Develop the habit of cross-checking important facts, asking the AI for sources, verifying calculations independently, and thinking critically about whether the output makes sense. Treat AI outputs as a first draft that requires human review, not as authoritative answers that can be used without verification. Frequency penalty and presence penalty are two additional controls that affect output quality. Frequency penalty reduces the model's tendency to repeat the same words or phrases, making text more diverse. Presence penalty encourages the model to talk about new topics that have not been covered yet. Both are useful for generating longer texts where repetition becomes an issue. The ethical dimension of prompt engineering includes considerations about bias, manipulation, and transparency. Avoid prompts that deliberately deceive or manipulate. Be aware that AI can reflect biases present in its training data. When using AI-generated content in professional or public settings, consider whether disclosure of AI involvement is appropriate. Next, state the task with precision. Write a 500-word blog post about cloud migration benefits for small businesses. Analyze this quarterly sales data and identify 3 key trends. Debug this Python function and explain what was wrong. Clear tasks get clear results. Ambiguous tasks produce ambiguous outputs. Context window management is a practical skill for long conversations. The model context window is limited so older parts of the conversation may be forgotten in very long exchanges. When working on extended projects, periodically summarize key points and decisions. This ensures that critical context is preserved as the conversation progresses. Stop sequences are an important but often overlooked parameter. You can specify one or more stop sequences that tell the model when to stop generating. For example, you can set a double new line as a stop sequence to generate one paragraph at a time. This gives you precise control over the length and structure of generated content. The meta skill of knowing when to use AI versus when to rely on your own expertise develops with experience. AI is excellent for generating ideas, drafting content, summarizing information, and exploring possibilities. Human judgment is essential for strategic decisions, creative direction, quality assessment, and ethical considerations. The best results come from knowing which tasks to delegate to AI and which to keep. Third, provide context. This is the most commonly omitted element and the one that makes the biggest difference. Context includes your audience, the purpose of the output, any constraints you're working under, and relevant background information. Without context, the AI writes for a generic audience. With context, it writes for your specific situation. Prompt debugging is the process of systematically improving a prompt that produces poor results. Isolate variables. Change one element at a time. Compare outputs side by side. Gradually identify which changes improve results. This scientific approach to prompt development yields reliable, high-performing prompts for recurring tasks. Logit bias allows you to increase or decrease the probability of specific tokens appearing in the output. This is useful for ensuring that certain words always or never appear. For example, you can boost the probability of your brand name and marketing copy or suppress profanity in customer-facing content. This is a powerful but advanced feature that gives you fine-grained control over output content. Sharing and collaborating on prompts within teams accelerates collective learning. Create a shared repository of effective prompts for common tasks. Encourage team members to contribute improvements. Document what each prompt does and when to use it. Over time, this repository becomes a valuable organizational asset that multiplies everyone's productivity. Fourth, specify the format. Format can include structure like bullet points, paragraphs, or tables. Length like 200 words or one page. Style like formal, conversational, or technical. The format specification ensures the output is ready to use without additional editing or reformatting. JSON mode is a feature that forces the model to output valid JSON, which is essential for programmatic use. When you need structured data for downstream processing, you can specify JSON mode and the model will format its response as valid JSON that your code can parse reliably. This eliminates the need for fragile text parsing of natural language outputs. Let me show you the difference with concrete examples. A basic prompt might be explain machine learning. An RTCF prompt would be you are a data science educator teaching a class of business students with no technical background. Explain 3 types of machine learning: supervised, unsupervised, and reinforcement learning. For each type, provide a simple analogy, a real-world business application, and one limitation. Format your response as a comparison table followed by a summary paragraph. Function calling is an advanced capability that allows the model to invoke external functions or APIs as part of its response. You define available functions and the model can decide when to call them. For example, the model could call a weather API when asked about the forecast or a database query when asked for customer information. This bridges the gap between language understanding and programmatic action. The difference in quality between these two prompts is night and day. The second prompt gives the AI everything it needs to produce a targeted, useful response. The first prompt forces it to guess at the audience, depth, and format. The distinction between training data and context window is important for understanding what the model knows. The training data represents everything the model learned during its initial training, which ended at a specific date. The context window is the current conversation that stays available for the duration of your session. The model can reference information in both, but only the context window can be updated through conversation. Few-shot prompting is a technique where you provide examples within your prompt. If you want the AI to write product descriptions in a specific style, provide 2 or 3 examples first. The AI will analyze the pattern and apply it consistently. This is especially useful for tasks that require a specific tone or structure. Rate limits and usage quotas are practical constraints to understand. Free tier users have lower rate limits than paid subscribers. The API has separate limits for requests per minute and tokens per minute. Exceeding these limits causes errors that your application must handle gracefully. Planning your usage around these limits ensures reliable operation of your AI-powered applications. Chain of thought prompting dramatically improves accuracy on complex tasks. Instead of simply asking for an answer, instruct the AI to work through the problem step by step. For mathematical problems, show your work step by step. For analytical questions, reason through each factor before reaching a conclusion. This technique reduces errors by 30 to 50% on reasoning tasks. The future of prompting will likely become more visual and interactive. Instead of typing prompts, you may use voice gestures or visual interfaces. Models will understand context from your environment and history without explicit prompting. But the fundamental skill of communicating clearly with AI will remain valuable regardless of how the interface evolves. Negative prompting constrains the output by specifying what to exclude. Do not use technical jargon. Do not include pricing. Do not write more than 300 words. Do not use first person. These guardrails prevent common issues and reduce the need for multiple revision rounds. Persona prompting creates multi-perspective analysis. Instruct the AI to respond as a panel of experts. You are 3 advisors: a technical architect concerned with feasibility, a business strategist focused on ROI, and a user experience designer prioritizing usability. Discuss this proposal and provide a consensus recommendation. This produces remarkably nuanced analysis. Iterative refinement is the process of gradually improving output through multiple rounds of feedback. Don't expect perfection on the first attempt. Get a draft. Review it. Provide specific feedback for improvement. Make the introduction more engaging. Add more data to support the third point. Shorten the conclusion. Each cycle produces better results. Temperature control affects the creativity of responses. Low temperature settings, around 0.1, produce focused, deterministic output ideal for factual tasks. Higher settings, around 0.8, produce more creative and varied output suitable for brainstorming and creative writing. Adjust temperature based on whether you need precision or creativity. System messages in the API allow you to set persistent instructions that apply to an entire conversation. This is like giving the AI a permanent role and behavioral guidelines. You are a helpful customer support agent. Always be polite and patient. If you don't know an answer, say so honestly and offer to find out. System messages create consistent behavior across all interactions. Prompt chaining connects multiple prompts in sequence, where the output of one becomes the input for the next. First prompt: generate 10 blog post ideas about AI in education. Second prompt: take idea number 3 and create a detailed outline. Third prompt: expand section 2 of the outline into a full article. This produces more coherent and structured results than trying to get everything in one shot. The self-consistency technique runs the same prompt multiple times and compares results. This is useful for tasks where accuracy is critical. If the AI gives the same answer 3 times in a row, you can be confident. If answers differ, the disagreement itself reveals uncertainty that you should investigate. Prompt optimization is an ongoing practice. Keep a log of effective prompts and analyze what made them work. Track which elements, role specificity, context detail, format precision, had the biggest impact on output quality. Over time, this practice will make you dramatically more effective with every AI tool you use. The most important lesson in prompt engineering is that skill transfers across AI tools. Once you master the principles of effective prompting, you can apply them to ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Midjourney, and any future AI system. This is not a tool-specific skill. It is a fundamental communication skill for the AI era. Advanced users can create reusable prompt templates that incorporate variables for different inputs. Instead of writing a new prompt each time you create a template with placeholders that you fill in for each use case. This ensures consistency across similar tasks and saves time. Templates are especially valuable for teams where multiple people need to produce consistent outputs. The concept of prompt injection security is important for anyone building applications on top of AI. Malicious users can attempt to override your system prompts by including instructions in their input that manipulate the AI behavior. Protecting against prompt injection requires careful input validation, output filtering, and separation of system prompts from user content. A systematic approach to prompt development involves tracking version history for your prompts. Save each version with notes about what changed and how it affected results. When you improve a prompt, you can always revert to an earlier version if the changes do not work as expected. This disciplined approach leads to continuously improving prompt quality over time. The community aspect of prompt engineering has created a rich ecosystem of shared knowledge. Online communities share effective prompts techniques and tools. Studying how others approach similar problems accelerates your learning and exposes you to techniques you might not discover on your own. Measure the impact of your prompts by tracking key metrics. Response quality, word count, adherence to format, accuracy of facts, and user satisfaction. Collect data on what works and what does not. Use this data to make informed decisions about prompt improvements rather than relying on intuition alone.